Welcome to Section 2 of our Financial Freedom Seminar, Part 1. In this specific section, we'll be covering the important aspect of budgeting. In this section, we will also be discussing how to properly calculate your tithes. Without a sound budget, we can let money start to control us, which is not the goal of our finances. We will discuss a tried and true budgeting method that will be very key in changing your financial lifestyle. We hope that you find this information to be very useful, and you can always contact Pastor Randall or Brother Alex with any questions you have. Let's get into the content.
There we go. We're going to talk about budgeting. Now, what he just gave us a definition of budgeting. What is budgeting? Budget allows you, and this is so cool, and understanding this, and if you don't live by a budget now, you're about to, and it'll be the greatest thing ever. And let me just say this real quickly. You might live by a budget in your head, but when you live by a budget on paper, it's a lot easier.
Yes.
It's a whole lot simpler, a whole lot easier, and it's going to help you. We're going to teach you how to do that. But a budget allows you to be able to control your money instead of money controlling you. It provides structure and a visual reference of accountability for how your money is spent. Everybody wants to know where their money is going, right? We all have financial goals that we're striving for. A budget allows you to reach these goals by keeping track of your spending habits because it becomes a habit. Putting a budget is not difficult as you think. Sticking with the budget is where everyone has trouble. We want to show you how not only how easy it is to do a budget, but one that will become so normal that it's going to become second nature to you. And that's where Sherry and I are, and I thank God for it. We don't do a ledger budget anymore because we've done it for so many years that it's automatic for us now. Mm-hmm. And but we had to do it for a year. It took us 6 years to get out of debt of $36,000, and we didn't have to go through a credit counseling company. We went through counseling, but that was from my daddy, and he taught us how to tithe, and that changed everything for us. And then when we got on a budget and we ledger budgeted, it took us 6 years, and even now we still sit down and we go through everything. Now, the thing about it is this, and especially when it comes to married couples, and I'll say this, and then we'll dig right into this. Do not say, she handles the money, he handles the money, okay? We handle the money, okay? You do not, it does not need to be, and this is so very important, y'all, and please listen to this very carefully. If you allow your wife to do all the budgeting,
I don't know why I'm cutting in and out.
Just cutting in and out. If you allow your wife to do all the budgeting, and God forbid something happens to your wife, you are sunk.
Yep.
The other way around. If you do all the budgeting and you don't tell your wife about your budgeting, something happens to you, she's sunk. I've seen this happen in situations a lot of times where people have one spouse has passed away and has left the other spouse in a terrible, terrible situation, and they had to dig out because, oh, my husband took care of everything for me. Oh, my wife took care of everything. No, you are a team. You're a covenant. To it together. Don't rely on the other person to take care of everything.
And especially when it comes to that financial piece, if one spouse takes care of everything and they say, oh, I'm the one who handles the finances and you're the one who just live your life, I got it. A lot of folks will think that it's a taboo thing to want to start to learn about the money when it comes to a relationship because they'll think, well, I don't want to start thinking about this because that means that something's going to happen to you, or they'll be superstitious or something like that. But, I mean, the Bible specifically says that in this life there will be tribulation. Not saying that your spouse is just all of a sudden going to and keel over, but saying that the things are going to happen. You have to be prepared in any kind of sense. And obviously, we want your spouse to be around as long as possible because we love them. But, you sitting there and starting to learn about things just in case if something were to happen doesn't mean that it's going to come about and take place in your life. Be on the smart side and be prepared just in case.
And doing your finances together will bring you into agreement.
Yep.
It will bring you into agreement. That is one of the biggest things, and I've seen so many times. One of the worst things that I've seen where people get in trouble is whenever a husband or the wife is doing all of the budgeting, the husband don't know anything about it, and then he gets in terrible trouble because he goes spends money that he wasn't supposed to. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Or vice versa. Yeah, I know. So that's one of those things to where do it together. Force yourself, even if it's boring to you, force yourself into it. And I promise you, because you will definitely reap the benefits and you'll see the difference. And it will make you financially free and not worry. And now I'm telling y'all, if you ever get past living paycheck to paycheck, it is the greatest thing ever, but we're about to get you there.
Yep, that's everything. So let's get to the next slide.
So I jumped. We keep doing this back.
All right, let's see. I'll head back one. Okay, so
there we go.
First, we're going to dive into some prioritization stuff. So
very, very important.
A lot of times people will sit there and talk about, oh, you need to put, your needs and your wants and all that kind of stuff. We like to take it one step further, and we've got it written down on that paper there for you so that you can take it home, and that'll help you break down how you prioritize everything. But like we talked about earlier, your current needs, which is your tithes, your housing, your utilities, your food, all the necessities, you have to take care of that first.
First.
I'm not always
Everybody
stern.
Say first.
First.
This is vital.
I'm not always stern on a lot of things. Do your current needs first. Don't be sitting there buying a lottery ticket if you cannot pay your light bill. Take care of your current needs first. Now, everything after that is up to your particular financial scenario. Because when we handle our current needs, the other options we've got are our future goals, which could be early debt payoff, retirement prep, all those other kinds of things that's, very smart future things that you're going to need to work and build up towards. And we've also got your wants. If you want to take that nice trip or that nice cruise, you want to have a nice house, fun items to work with, if you want to gift to any loved ones and all that kind of stuff. So that's on more of the wants side of things. So as long as you handle those current needs first, then you can break everything else down to have the best of both worlds. You can prep for your needs and your goals in the future, and you can have fun, because that's what money is for. Money is a tool for you to use to achieve all those different types of things.
The highest priority on your necessity list is tithe.
Yep.
I'll never forget, y'all, and I had to learn this the hard way. Whenever Sherry and I were in tremendous debt, and again, I'm not trying to get your money. I want to get you blessed. I want to get you out of debt. I want you to get you healed. I want to get you free. Whenever Sherry and I were in this greatest debt, we humbled ourselves. We broke ourselves because we were broke. We didn't know what else to do. We were desperate, a desperate situation. I'll never forget. And I went to Mom and Daddy, and I hated that, y'all. I had to, Lord, you talk about having to break your pride, and you have to go ask your Mom and Daddy for help, and you've been trying to do your best, and you're just struggling and struggling. And I'll never forget, I went and we sat down, and we sat there in front of Mom and Daddy, and I had all of our bills laid out. We brought everything to them. We laid everything out in front of us, and we were sitting there, and we were desperate. We were in a terrible situation. I mean, y'all, honestly, we didn't even know where our next meal was coming from. And I'll never forget, Daddy looked across the table at me, and he said, Randall, I got to ask you something. And I said, what's that, Dad? He said, are you tithing? And you know what my response was? I can't afford to tithe. Now, y'all, it's the biggest lie that there is.
Yes.
And I'll never forget what he told me. You can ask Sherry. She's right over there. He looked at me and her, and he said these words. He said, Randall, if you don't eat, you tithe.
Yep.
And I said, that just messed me up, because, that's not something you want to hear.
Mm-mm.
But then I realized, and then I went back and studied, and I realized I can't eat if I don't tithe. I can't do anything because I'm going to tithe. And what was happening is I was tithing, but I was tithing to the electric company. I was tithing to the car, to the garage. I was tithing to all of these. I was tithing to the repairman. Because why? The devourer was eating everything I had.
Yeah.
And so that was it. So your number one necessity is always that. And I'm not saying, listen, the thing about it is wherever you're being fed spiritually, that's where you tithe. That's why this is your storehouse.
Yep.
And I don't want your money. I'm not getting your money. The Church of God sets my salary. I wish it was a better one. But so I'm not taking your tithe. You're giving it to the storehouse of the Lord. Yep. That's what it's all about, and it works. So understanding that on the subject of tithing, we're going to touch on some simple formulas. And y'all, I love this coming up. These simple formulas are based on what style of tither that God is telling you to be, okay? Please understand this. Both of these ways that we're going to explain to you how to tithe are correct. Neither one of them are wrong, okay? And the way it is this. Two types are first fruit tithers and then your income tithers, okay? And then here's to be clear on both ways that are correct. Whichever way you feel God is specifically leading you is the correct way. Now, here's the difference. First fruit tithers base their tithe off of their gross income. Now, this is what the money that you earn before taxes and deductions are taken out of pay. So what you do is, right off the bat, your hourly rate or whatever you get paid, what your salary is, you take 10% of that and give it to the Lord. Income tithers, which are not wrong either, tithe off of their net income. Here is the biggest difference, okay? Both are correct. A first fruit tither that tithes off their gross income, if they get a refund or if they're refunded for any taxes that they've paid, they do not pay tithes on that.
Yep.
An income tither that pays on their net whenever they do get a refund, because that basically that's how it will end up, they pay tithes on that refund.
Exactly.
And it equals both ways. Whichever way God tells you to tithe is how you tithe.
Yep.
But ultimately, you're still tithing on your first fruit either way. Does that make sense, everybody?
Mm-hmm.
So you can't judge somebody and say, "Oh, you're tithing on. You're supposed to give God His first." Well, I am. I'm still giving it His first, but whenever I get my refund, I'll pay tax. I'll pay tithes on that. Whereas other people that give refunds, if you paid on your first fruit, you don't. You see, it equals out both ways. So you can't judge anybody for how they tithe as long as they are tithing.
Today, we've talked about it in sermons in the past or services about the importance of tithing and having that as your very first thing when it comes to earning money. But here we've got it listed right here. These are the two formula options that you have. So whichever one the Lord is laying on your heart to do, it's as simple as either taking your gross income or your net income, divide it by 10, pay that as your tithe.
So here's first fruit Fred.
Yep. So first fruit Fred, he is a first fruit tither. He's using his gross income, not his net income. He's using his gross income that's before all the taxes and the other things are taken out. So Fred, he's a salary worker, so he has a salary of $43,000 per year. That's his annual gross income. Now he gets paid every 2 weeks, so that would be bi-weekly. That means he gets paid 26 times throughout the year. Now, if we take that $43,000 and divide it by 26, that means his gross income for every one of those paychecks should be $1,653.85. So that's his gross income for that paycheck. Now, you'll see here at the bottom, we took that formula we gave you on the last slide. So there's that $1,653.85 divided by 10, pay it. It's that simple. So we broke it down just that way for you. And instead, let's go to first fruit or income Isaac.
Here's income Isaac.
So income Isaac, he just got paid. He just had a payday. Praise the Lord. So his check that actually hit his checking account was for $1,573.46. So guess what he does? He takes that, divides it by 10, pays it as the tithe. Eureka. We just broke it down.
It was funny when we decided to do this. I was like, a lot of people don't realize the formula, but it is. It's really that simple. Mm-hmm. It really is. And here's the thing, y'all, that's so neat about it. It's already built in.
Yep.
You're not giving anything. You're paying what's already been in. The 10% is already there.
Yeah.
You get to use 90% of it. And you know what? We should be thanking God we get to use 90% of it. Amen? Mm-hmm. That's how you have to look at it. So that's the two differences in first fruit Fred and income Isaac. Any questions on that? Everybody got that? All right. Cool. All right. So here we go. Setting up your budget. Here we go. Now this is the biggie. When setting your budget on your variable expenses, review what you have spent on them in previous months. Now, this is really important, and if you brought your information, we can help you with this, but you're going to have estimates to be able to build your budget, and so that's what these variable expenses are. I think there's more to that if you want to talk about that.
Yeah. So first off, looking at that top bullet, fixed expenses, they're going to be easy. You're going to see exactly what that was for the past months. You're just going to carry that in because it doesn't change unless the company adjusts it, of course, because inflation, fun times. But when it comes to those variable expenses, we're looking through some of those previous bank statements. So, for example, if I want to get a good estimate on my groceries for the month that I should set going forward, I'm going to look through at least the last 3 months worth. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add up the groceries for those 3 different months, and I'm going to get the totals for, let's say, January, February, and March. And then I'm going to average those totals. So I have a little example here. So let's say Sally spent $410 in January, $470, and $450 on groceries over the past 3 months. What she would do is she would set her budget. Yeah, she spends, so she's got some kids. She would set her budget for the groceries as $444. That's the average of those values there. So, and it's not going to be perfect every single month, but what we're given is a good baseline to calculate off of. Now, the total, this is the important part when you're setting your budget. The total of your expenses has to be less than your monthly net income. That net income, it won't work if you go past it. You're going to be going into debt. You're going to be asking mama and daddy for it. You're going to be doing all kinds of crazy stuff. But where you live off less than what you make every month, that's going to provide some margin that you're able to work with, and you'll put that towards wealth generation, whether that's paying down debt, saving up a month ahead, putting money into investments, whatever the case is.
One of the things about this, and we're fixing to jump into your ledger book, so you can go ahead and get your ledger book out. One of the things about it, when Sherry and I first learned how to do this, it seemed so elementary, and we were like, what in the world are we doing? But y'all, the problem is this: the majority of Americans today do not live within a budget. The majority of Americans today overspend, and because they do that, they cannot live within that budget, and they are always behind every single time, and then their bills are late, and then the credit companies are calling them, and they live in this because why? Because they wanted to spend more than they make. You can't do that. For this, in order for this to work, for you to be successful, like Alex just said, you've got to live within your budget. And so therefore, you've got to learn how to do estimates, how to do these things, and learn from them. And it's so powerful once you get a hold of this. And y'all, this will get you out of debt so fast. I promise you, this will work.
And I do want to touch on this verse that I found while I was studying through the Word. So this is Proverbs 21:5. The plans of the diligent certainly lead to advantage, but everyone who is in a hurry certainly comes to poverty. Exactly. So if you're just burning through your money, you're just having fun, you're not paying attention to where your money's going and how it's working for you, that's going to lead to a lot of struggles for you financially. I mean, it literally says it'll come to poverty. But the plans of the diligent, the ones who set the budget, who track the expenses, who stay within their means, they certainly lead to advantage. There's no doubt about it. It is concrete.
Some of y'all do this. Some of you use a checkbook ledger. This is what Sherry and I used for years and years and years, and it helped us tremendously. And the reason why is because this makes you visualize every single penny that's coming and going out of your life. And it's so important. So setting this up, we'll do this setup for you. It is one of the simplest ways. If you use it as a tool to track your income and spending, this is really, you're going to be on your way to financial freedom. And here's the thing, y'all. If you use this, you're going to prove to yourself that you're serious about it. And that's what I really like about it. It's not hard to do, and when you do it, you're going to treat it as this is your business. And if you begin to treat your expenses and your finances like this is your own personal private business, your business will flourish. I promise you, your business will flourish. So if you've never done this before, you're about to learn something good. If you've done this before and it hasn't worked, maybe we can give you something to repair it. And if you're doing this, congratulations. You're on your way to financial freedom. All right.
So yeah, we're going to lay out how the ledger book is structured and everything. Now we're going to give you some examples here. We actually went through and filled out an example ledger. If you can't read it, it's my fault. My handwriting's not the best. But we just went through, we did beginning of the month, part of the way through the month, and then the end where we show you how to total everything up. But you're going to realize it's super elementary, but the fact that you have it there on paper is going to be life-changing for you. So in the top left corner, you'll list your net income, and here I've got the slide up for you now. Oh,
did I go back? I'm
yeah, we
sorry.
went too far. There we go. No, that's fine. There we go. So in the top left corner, you're going to list your net income. Remember, that's what actually hits your account after everything's taken out of it. And so each current need should have its own account in your ledger book. That'll be going from left to right. Now, the one on the far left is going to be your tithes because that's number one. That's the first priority right out the door. So that's where you're going to do that calculation. You're going to see what your tithes are supposed to be for that month, and then you're going to list it right there. And that's like we've said, anytime that you have it, you're going to, boom, pay that tithe.
What's really, this part here is so important, and we're going to show y'all this in just a second, but we're just going to go through these bullets first, but we're going to actually give you the visual, what it looks like, so you can fill out your own. But what's really important about that is each column there represents an account. If you will look at your, for instance, like say your mortgage, if you will look at your mortgage as a monthly account instead of a bill, you'll be able to access that account and know when you're paying that, what time you're paying it, and how much you paid, and all the way down. For instance, like say you treat your grocery bill, okay, your groceries as an account now. And so you set up your money at the top of that account. That's all the money that you've got in that account for that entire month. So as you spend money on groceries, you're going to be subtracting out of that account the whole entire month. And your goal is going to be at when it comes to the end of that month to have money left over. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So if you begin to treat all of your expenses as a separate account, then you'll learn to live as a business-minded person instead of just saying, oh, that's just a bill. No, that's not just a bill. This is an account that I have in this ledger. And so we'll show you that. So you enter these transactions as they occur throughout the month to keep track of your spending and stay within your budget. Now, here it is, and he already said this earlier. It is crucial that you stay within your budget for each category. For each account that you have, you've got to stay within that budget. If there's extra money in any category or account at the end of the month, it can be put toward financial freedom. And y'all, this is how you begin to build wealth. You don't overspend when you do it this way. Okay?
All right.
So here we go.
Next, we're going to give you some examples. And of course, you can also take pictures of this as well as we're going through, because this is the actual document. This is literally your books.
Bill and Dollar Pinchington.
So we've got Bill and Dollar Pinchington. So we're doing their ledger for the month of May 2025 coming up. Can't believe it's May already. But what they've done here is they, in the top left, just like the previous slide said, they had their net income listed. So for the entire month, the both of them combined, they're bringing in a household net income of $4,578. Now, what you'll do over here on that left column is you'll list the date, and as you track each of those expenses, you'll list out that date that it occurred as you're going through. Now, you'll see your different accounts or categories going forward. And so, like we said, tithe is always number one. I mean, it even gives you a little number one right here. That is the first priority going forward. And then what you'll see is you've got your housing, your utilities, your groceries, your insurance, your debt payments, your gas, your expenses, all that other kind of stuff listed out so that as it's going throughout the month, you can track that exactly to see that you are staying within your budget. And so you're going to be starting to generate that financial freedom for your household. Now, with us talking about how to set the amounts for those budgets, the fixed amounts are going to be the same every single month. But the ones that fluctuate is where we had to go back through some of those recent statements and get the averages on everything. So right here underneath the titling for each one of those accounts is where you list that budgeted amount that we set. So for example, if they made $4,578 in net income, we're saying that they're a first fruit tither. So they have listed their tithe as $457.
No, that's their net. I'm sorry. That is their net. Their Isaac.
Oh, that's right. No, sorry. Yeah, their net income. Yeah, they are income tithers. So they are going based off of that net income. So where they listed it out here in their tithe column was $457.80, 10% of that net income they started out with. And so as you'll notice, for example, the housing was straightforward. They had their budget already set. They paid it whenever that mortgage came due. But with some of the things like groceries and other things you'll see throughout the month, they slowly deduct it down based off of that starting amount so that they don't go over what they've initially set it as. Here, I'll let you take the next one.
All right, so now we're coming to the middle of the month, okay? So this is going to be the first of the month all the way through the 19th. You can see how different bills have fell on different times. Again, this is where you list every single thing that you're doing throughout the month. If you want to be very, very particular, don't miss anything.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, just like right here, when they went out for pizza, don't miss it. And if you see where the pizza comes out, it comes out of an expense column. Your expenses column is going to be your generalized column. That's going to be for going out to eat. That's going to be going to the movies. That's going to be going out for dinner. That's going to be buying. That's going to be getting a haircut. That's going to be all those things. So that's why generally it's going to be a pretty high column when you start out. And again, you're averaging out. Go back 3 months and look. Take all those things what you spent and put that in. Gas bill is your gas on your car. That's your fuel. Debts is your biggest one, okay? And the reason why debts is your biggest one is because you're going to put your car payments in here. This is where you're going to put your car payments at. This is where you're going to put your credit card payments at inside of that. So that's going to be, so you can see how you're filling this out throughout the month. And every column you can see, like this column, for instance, because the tithe, it's zeroed out because you know that's a fixed expense. You know exactly how much that's going to cost you. For instance, your house payment. If your house payment is $1,437, when you pay your house payment, they paid it on the 5th, they can go ahead and zero out that column. If you want to, you can come, well, we'll show you that in a second, but you can actually come all the way to the bottom and zero that out. Utilities, you're not going to know exactly what your utility bill is. So this is going to include your electric bill. This is going to include your telephone, your water, your sewer, whatever. So then you go over here, you see the phone bill this month was $127. Subtract that out of that, you're at $305. Now this is how much you have left for utilities. And you come down, your electric bill was $198. You take that from the $305, now you're at $107. If you've got a water bill, which you'll see that in just a second, but you can see how you're subtracting, and you're treating every single one of these columns as a different account. That way you're not mixing yourself up, because one of the biggest things that we get involved with is missing out on a bill because what? Because we didn't remember, oh, I had to spend that for this. But if you know I've only got this amount of money for this, you're not going to go from somewhere else and borrow from somewhere else and use it, because you've only absolutely said this as much. Now, the reason why this is so important, y'all, and I'm going to show you something that's really, really cool. If you do the math, the 4,570, if you subtract every single one of these, which is your basically your budget for the month, we're going to show you that you actually already, without doing anything, you already are saving.
Here, let's see. Let's actually, I'll go ahead and dive right into this.
All right, jump to the end.
Yeah, let's jump straight into it.
Because you're going to like this. This is cool.
So what we did across the top, whenever we set the budgeted amounts for each one of those accounts, we actually left a little bit of room to spare. So we left an extra $90 automatically at the beginning of the month that we're like, hey, we're not going to touch this. We're going to set it aside. That's going to be our start of our wealth generating process. Now, the cool thing was we went through the entire month of May. We had Memorial Day, Mother's Day, everything. And so once we got down here to the bottom, certain things were zeroed out. For example, like the tithes and the housing. So those we paid exactly what we estimated at the beginning. So those hit zero. They perfectly balanced for the end of the month. Now, the things that we did save a little bit of money on, let's see, we saved $5 on our utilities. We spent $5 less than what we started out with up at the top. Same thing happened with our groceries. Same thing happened with our debt payments and things. Same thing happened with our gas and with our expenses. So what we were able to do was take all that money that we had at the balance at the end of the month, add that into that $90 that we started out with. So that is $150 that they are taking to pay down those extra debts even faster than they're scheduled to. So if you're sitting there and, like we talked about earlier, everybody's in a different stage financially. You know, some folks, you may be struggling with debt and you feel like, oh, I just can't get a month ahead. I'm struggling. I can't get this stuff knocked down. There's your way. This is what's going to automatically get you to put extra money toward those payments every single month so you can start knocking them down very fast. And we'll give you a strategy on that part. If you're not in debt, but you're not a month ahead either, you're kind of in that paycheck to paycheck spot, this is how you'll get a month ahead. If you are past that point and you're wanting to generate that wealth, this will give you extra money to be able to do that. So it is automatically built in. What you see here is you have your needs taken care of. That was our first priority, including your tithes. You're having your fun. Yeah, they went out for pizza. They had McDonald's. They took a trip on Memorial Day weekend, all that fun stuff. And they also have their future goals taken care of, all in one budgeting strategy. So that's why we really wanted to present this to you guys, because it wraps up everything all into one.
And the key is that $150 that they saved, they got 60 throughout the month, but they were already starting out with 90. That is not extra money to spend.
Mm-mm. What?
You're trying to get ahead. You're trying to pay down debt. You're trying to generate wealth. So what you did in just that one simple month scenario is you put yourself $150 ahead.
Yep.
You did not put yourself $150 new TV. Because this is the problem. Most people, when they come to the end of it and they see extra money, they think extra spending. This is where you have to change your habits.
Yep.
You cannot. If you work this hard to generate $150 extra dollars, why would you beat yourself up and blow it?
Yep.
And waste it? You don't do that, because your goal in this is to what? Become a wealthy person, to generate wealth. You don't need anything else. All your needs are met. A lot of your wants are met.
Yep.
Thank God. And that's a good thing. So this formula, if you will stick with it every single month without fail, I promise you,
Yes.
I promise you, you're going to look back a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, you're going to say, wow, how in the world did I do it? Because God taught me how.
Thank you for viewing Section 2 of our first Financial Freedom Seminar. In our next video, we'll be covering Section 3, Finding Extra Money. If you would like to leave a love offering for the church, just scan the QR code listed on the screen. To go directly to the video for Section 3, just click on the pop-up on the screen. Keep going, because financial freedom is just around the corner.